In today's episode, Todd asks, when it comes to audio quality, what's more important, software or hardware? The answer to this question is it depends. It depends on the relative quality of the stuff you've already got. So if you have a really good piece of software and you know how to use it, like Adobe Audition, you can do a lot with that, right? That's like an appliance, a nice high-end appliance. You can do a lot with the software. You can do noise reduction, sound removal, amplification, compression, all the audio engineering techniques that anyone with a good audio engineering background should know. However, there is a lower limit to what you can do with this software, because if the audio quality that you have going in is so bad, there's only so much software can do. Software cannot fix things that are just flat out unlistenable. So, for example, if you are walking around at an event and you're just holding your phone up in the air, right, with the voice memos on, you're not going to get great audio quality. It's going to be very, very difficult to engineer that into something that sounds good. Yes, you can reduce some of the noise, but things like reverberation, echoing sounds, very, very difficult to get rid of that. If you have a decent audio recorder, for example, and you just use it improperly, again, there's not going to be much you can do about that. I remember the first time I met my friend Chris Brogan at an event, Bar Camp Boston. He had a little iRiver audio recorder device, not much bigger than this microphone, and he was trying to record the audio from sessions and was putting this little MP3 recorder on top of the speaker cabinets in the room. Now, if you know anything about, if you don't know anything about audio recording, that's about the worst possible way to record audio, because speaker cabinets themselves are muffled. The audio coming out of them is not great. It's fairly distorted, and you get a lot of clipping. Clipping is what happens when the signal, the noise that you're recording, is greater than what the device you're recording on it can handle. Think of it like a cup of water, right? Your microphone that you're using can only take in so much noise. After a certain amount, it overflows, right? And if you've got more noise flowing in than you have cup, you've got a mess. The same thing is true with audio gear. This microphone I'm using right here, this is an SM7B. It is fairly robust, right? It can tolerate a lot of loudness, but if I just sit here and just scream at the top of my lungs, it's gonna peak out. It's gonna go past what the microphone can record. And like photography, you can boost low signal, right? You can make quiet sounds a little bit louder or substantially louder. You cannot recover from sounds that are blown out, just like you can't recover from photos that are overexposed beyond a certain point. Because the information simply isn't there. If I yell really loud, or going back to the glass example, if you overflow the cup, you can't do anything with all the water that has fallen out, right? You can only work with what's in the cup, and what's in the cup may not be all of the sound. So your software does matter, but when it comes to audio quality, try to get the best microphone that you can afford within reason, and try to make sure that you're using it properly. There are all sorts of microphones that you can buy. Let's see if I have any examples here. One of my favorites is this little boom mic. It's from a company called V-Moda. And all it is a little mic that plugs into a headset. And you just wear this and you talk right into it. And that is, believe it or not, for a lot of people, going to be more than enough microphone. There are other mics. There's so many on the marketplace. Anker's PowerCast microphone is pretty good for $40. Logitech's Yeti microphones are overpriced at, I think they're at $130 now. They're overpriced for what they are. The SM7B is $499. It is expensive, but it is better sound. Think of your hardware think of your hardware like ingredients, right? If your software is like an appliance, your hardware is like an ingredient generator, right? The sound that comes out of this is your raw materials. The better the hardware, the nicer the raw materials. And then the nicer the raw materials, the more you can do with it, right? So if you have raw materials that just sound like garbage, right? And it's like if someone drops off rotten produce at your house, there's only so much you can do with that. Like you can compost it, but you can't really cook with it. You're not going to, no amount of great appliances is going to turn rotten cabbage into anything other than rotten cabbage. So with microphones in particular, get the best microphone that you can afford for the purposes that you're going to be using it. And then, again, learn how to use it. This SM7B, this is a dynamic mic. It has a lot of things going for it. But one of the things that you have to know about mics like this is that they require you to be really close to them. So just this, I'm now about a foot away, and you can tell there's a big difference in the quality of the sound, even though it's the same $499 microphone. If I'm using it the wrong way, you may as well not be using it at all, right? Now, again, you can fix that particular mistake to a degree in software, but it's better to know how to use the technology. An expensive piece of hardware used improperly is a bigger waste, right? So get the technology that you know how to use, that you can afford to use, that you can afford to use well. That little headset microphone, it's pretty foolproof. It's pretty foolproof. So if you use that and you don't get one of these things, you'll be better off. If you don't know how to use this, but you do know how to use a headset mic, you're going to get better sound out of the headset mic because you know how to use it. So that's the answer. There is no cut and dried answer. It depends on what you've got. It depends on your use case, your intended outcome, and what you're capable of from a knowledge perspective. But it's a really good question given the prevalence of now podcasters and live streamers and YouTubers and TikTokers. Everybody and their cousin is generating content with these more sophisticated tools. But you got to know how to use them. Thanks for asking. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.